To more from the Web Summit in Qatar. On the sidelines of the summit, I also spoke to Bankoff, the CEO of Vox Media. He believes sky is the limit when it comes to AI. That's not all. He also spoke about the company's global aspirations and his desire to enter the Indian market. Here's a slice of that conversation.
There's a lot of different places where AI is going to be important. Some are predictable and most are not. So I will say for our business, first of all, we put human creativity still at the center. So we ask ourselves, how can AI help elevate and enable human creativity like never before? We have a few applications that we've launched in our own portfolio. One of our media brands is called Eater, and Eater helps people discover great places to eat and food. There's so much content that our reporters are coming up with every day. We've used AI to make that content more accessible, so value. So we're exploring all of it, and really, the sky is the limit in terms of opportunity.
So you said that, you try to keep it human-centric and you use AI to sort of boost that. But also the other bigger issue right now is while we have professionals who do this work, we've also got the advent of social media. We've got so many, social media creators who now also are partaking in journalism. So how does this pose a challenge or a threat to, let's say, traditional media outlets?
Right. Well, first of all, I think it's wonderful that media is so accessible to people, creators. We work with a variety of creators. We help them grow their audiences. We help them monetize as well. We have a whole part of our business. Frankly, the fastest growing part of our business is called the Vox Media podcast network. And it's podcasts on YouTube, it's podcasts on TikTok, etc. And so we go out and we find great creators.
Deep fakes and, misinformation has become such a big problem in a social media era, right? So how do you sort of circumvent this? How do you use AI or technology to sort of, stop this?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think part of the value, you asked me, there's so much change, and media is always defined by change, technology, change of taste, change of the economy. And so we always have to stay on top of it. But one of the things that I find is that the consumer has a place for trust, and trust is really paramount, and we're smart people and we can sift through over time. Maybe you can fool us once, but over time you can sift through what is trustworthy and what is not trustworthy. So we, like CNBC, like other great media outlets, have to find ways to provide that trust. And I think technology can, if channeled the right way, can play a role in helping to identify what is trustworthy and what is real. And I think ultimately over time, there's going to be demand for that. And if we can do our jobs well, I think the consumers will trust us and the consumers will value us. And the algorithms that support the discovery will also surface us in the way that they should, because it's in their best interest to do so.
Right. And speaking of that, how do we ethically use AI? What sort of guardrails need to be put in place? And does the industry do that, or is that something the government needs to do, or do both need to come together? So what kind of guardrails are needed to protect people from AI, their privacy and data?
Well, there's so many moving parts to answer that question successfully. I think ultimately it starts with empowering consumers, giving them the tools and the algorithms to have the choice and the say in how they consume this media. And then, of course, there's a role of educating people to understand where there's disinformation, understand how they can kind of take control and get the information from the places that they trust and they value. That will be each individual's choice, and they have to be given that choice. And I think technology can assist that. I think government can play a role, but I think it's also incumbent on the free enterprise to make sure that they are acting responsibly, because ultimately it's in their best interest to do so. And I think there are plenty of good actors. There's a lot of things that need to be figured out. There's a lot of opportunity for exploitation. There's a lot of bad things, just like in any other industry, that can happen, and we have to be on alert for them. We have to allow innovation to foster, so we can't overdo it, but we have to be smart, and we have to continue to iterate through that.
Yeah, so you have to use it responsibly and not have too many guardrails in place as well to sort of dampen innovation at this point.
That's right. Learn, test. Some guardrails make sense, of course, but we have to be careful because things evolve, and what might be a good prescription in one era or area can change very quickly based on how technology changes too. And so, I think often it's the responsibility of the companies that are producing these technologies to make sure that they're on top of it. And again, in the long term, I would hope it's in their best interest to do so as well.
I just wanted to ask you, what's the Vox Media expansion plan? Are you eyeing other markets? Are you looking at India at all? Are you planning on entering the India market?
I would love to enter the India market, but we need to be very humble as we enter the market. It's an enormous, thriving market.
Yeah.
I don't have to tell you that.
Yes.
But we are an American culture, and so we have to go about it in the right way, whether that's via a partnership or whether that's via working with people on the ground who are experts, not only experts in the culture and the taste of the journalism, but expert in the advertising markets, expert in the business markets as well. So we are very careful, that we're a very ambitious company. We have global aspirations, but we're very careful and we don't want to take an arrogant approach just because something works so well for us in North America and in the countries that we operate. I will say we already have large audiences in India who already go to The Verge or go to Vox or go to SB Nation, who listen to our podcasts. We reach large swaths of the English-speaking world as it is. Having said that, we do aspire to not only be American-centric, but to be global as well.
Absolutely. And what about the 5-year growth target for Vox Media?
We want to continue to serve large audiences, and we want to meet audiences where they are. We want to have a dynamic business model with revenue diversification. We see a lot of opportunity right now. All of the landscape of media, because it is being disrupted so quickly, that creates opportunities for companies like ours that are traditionally disruptors as opposed to ones that are less nimble. We have built a successful business model, but we are not tied to an old way of distribution. We are not tied to a printing press or a broadcast network or anything like that. And so we have opportunity to continue to innovate and continue to grow. And I expect, and I know we will hold ourselves accountable for growing dramatically.
And with that, it is a wrap on this edition of Startup Street. More news and updates coming up on the other side. Stay tuned.